Welcome to Momivate Momversations on the Win-Win Women Network. We are so grateful for this platform and the behind-the-scenes friends, making it all work smoothly so we women can gather to care, connect, and collaborate. Truly a win-win for us all. I'm your hostess, Reagan Barnes, mom of 8 and founder of Momivate. We are a nonprofit organization that empowers you to elevate your mothering experience. Also joining us today is Dr. Marti Glenn of riseo.com. And you, Mom, you are joining us, and we are so glad to have you both, Dr. Glenn and you too. We welcome you into the Momivate community, or mom unity, as we like to say. We are moms united in our passion to create a better world for our children, with our children, and through our children. Join us and become a mom unity member. It's free on our website, momivate.org. And when you join our mom unity, we'll send you a free digital copy of our Smile Journal, where you can keep track of what you learn from each of these Momversations. You can set goals that really impact your personal achievement based on this educational program. So let's get this Momversation started. Here at Momivate, we answer the question, what do moms do? With this uplifting statement, moms raise up society. That's right, not just our own kids, but all of society, including ourselves. This acronym is jam-packed with the far-reaching impact of intentional mothers who strive to improve and progress in these areas of motherhood. We're not just chauffeurs and short-order cooks, as we repeatedly do bedtime routine and load after load of laundry. It makes an impact that goes beyond our homes, because as moms, we are uniquely positioned to influence society one-on-one. As we take on this repetitive, loving work, it shapes our children and it shapes us too. Today, with our special guest, Dr. Marti Glenn of riseo.com, we're going to focus on the category of atmosphere and get even more specific and dig into the subcategory of hearing. At Momivate, we know that part of motherhood includes creating a home atmosphere, and we are exploring this centuries-old art of homemaking through this lens of the 5 senses. And today we'll hone in, we'll narrow down and focus in on hearing, which has another name, listening. And that's really what Dr. Glenn is here to instruct us about. Now, we're going to stop our slides so that we can talk to Dr. Glenn more personally. So in one of the emails that you sent in preparation for today's discussion, you ended that email by saying you are looking forward to a rich conversation today. And I just have to start by saying thank you so much for bringing your enriching expertise to share with us. Would you take a little minute to share a bit about your background, both in terms of your mothering and your beyond motherhood career?
Thank you so much, Reagan. I'm very excited to be here because, as you have said so beautifully, mothering is the most important profession, the most important role that we do on the planet, because the mothering that we experience has everything to do with how we are in the world, how well developed our nervous system is, how we relate to other people, how we feel about ourselves. Now, that's a big job, but it's an important one. And we don't do it alone. We do it with each other, you know.
And I think that's a very hopeful thought, is if we can back away from the judgmental or the comparisons and simply reach out in support and love and realizing that this is a big duty Um, but that it can also be a huge joy as we focus in on some of the
That's right.
skills. Really, you can learn skills as a mother. And I feel like that's what you're here to help us learn.
That's what we're going to do. Yeah. I mean, I have two kids. My husband, Ken, had two kids and two other kids that he raised. And they're all grown now. And we have grandchildren, which Tuesday we're going to go get to see some of them in DC. We're so excited. We're
Oh,
going to
yes.
take them to Great Wolf Lodge. So that's going to be a fun water park.
Oh,
But it's the beingness that we learn that is so important. It is not what we do, it's how we are. And when we learn how to be with our kids, we're also learning how to be with our partners, how to be with our friends, with everybody else, because these principles that actually come from science are the same for all of us. It's just that in a lot of ways, they're more important for the little ones, for us to be with the little ones, and I've learned that through my own. I was not a perfect mom, far from it. I have to tell you, I had a very crazy upbringing, and I won't go into it, but it was not good. And I really wanted my kids to have a good mom. And so I did all the right things. I had natural childbirth, I breastfed, I carried my babies, I made all their baby food, but there was one thing missing. That was me.
oh.
I wasn't emotionally present for them because I hadn't done my own healing work, you know,
Mm.
and no fault of anybody's. But as I've done the work, I've done more of the healing process. I've learned to be present and available. And my kids and I are so close now. I mean, I talk to them almost every day. They call me for advice. We share things.
That's
It's,
wonderful.
yeah, it's really wonderful. And it just shows that we begin wherever we are. We don't blame anybody. We're not shaming. We start where we are and we can grow and build the relationships that we want, which is so, so satisfying.
Oh, that's great. And hopefully inspire in the other person of the relationship, because that's one of the tricky things about relationships that involve someone else. I can't just
Right.
make my own goals and check off that goal. I have to somehow encourage and inspire that other person to want that relationship with
That's right.
me also.
Right. Well, and I would add that everybody doesn't feel, this is going to sound really weird, but a lot of us never felt emotionally safe in our relationships. And I'm not talking about safe from the saber-toothed tiger coming in. I'm talking about safe to show up, safe
Mm.
to bring my gifts, safe to try new things, safe to be who I am. And that's what we want for our kids, is have them to feel safe.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and well, I do want to give you another minute to talk now about your beyond motherhood careers. What have you done
Oh,
professionally?
well, many years ago, I started looking at what makes people thrive. I was doing all kinds of therapy. I helped to start a college. I was teaching graduate students and looking at the science. And I actually began in my dissertation looking at brain science and looking at all of that. And then that morphed into looking at the science of how the nervous system develops. And that's a really important thing. And then as I worked with people, they kept coming back to things that happened to them way before they had memories. And
Interesting.
I started going, how is this possible? And in my mind, I'm going through my textbooks, my college textbooks. Nobody ever talked about the early experience. But I discovered that is so foundational to, as I said earlier, how our nervous system develops, how we are with each other, and how we can be now. And so my husband and I started a college. It was the first college to offer master's and doctoral degrees in prenatal and perinatal psychology.
Wow.
And there was no place you could really study that. And we
Wow.
felt like it was critically important. And
Yes.
so, yeah. And so we did that for 10 years. It was incredible. We turned it over to another college, but then we started doing work with adults to say, how do we be better? How can we be better parents? How can we be better partners? How can we heal, or it's almost like use the clouds of our past, shine light on that, begin to feel safe, and step into all of who we really are.
That's beautiful. I'm excited now. Yeah, to hearing that background and that you're going to share with us some of these ideas and tools and just having the knowledge there of how critical those early years can be. But then also for those of us who might not have had positive early years, how we can overcome that.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So yeah, let's I have a few questions here. How do we experience more love? Love sometimes comes across as just kind of a random emotion that maybe I'm in the same room as somebody who's good looking and I think, oh, maybe I love that person. Or maybe I'm holding my baby and I look at my baby and think, wow, of course I love my baby. But how can we use those emotions actively to build a strong foundation for our family?
Well, first of all, I want to back up and say my capacity to feel and actually feel the love or allow love in, again, is based on my early experiences. And really important, I will say it another 50 times, just because you didn't get it doesn't mean you can't have it now. But we have to find ways of finding people in our lives who feel safe. And we do that by slowing down, taking a breath, and just becoming aware, noticing, what am I feeling right now? I mean, it's embarrassing to admit, but I remember when my kids were babies, I thought, no, I love my babies, but I don't feel anything.
Interesting.
I didn't have the sensation that I wanted to have of really loving them. And that's when I began to work on levels of safety and being more present. Things like mindfulness, slowing down. I mean, I can get things done and I can get really fast. And what I've had to learn to do is to slow down and take a breath and be present, not just doing, but being.
And that I think can create that safety then zone for the people around you who you want to give the safety to is not, I know for me, living that busy motherhood life, it's often meaning put down my phone and give them eye contact. And that can increase, hopefully, their sensation of safety.
Yeah. Well, and just to say, you said such an important thing there, Reagan, and that's eye contact. We know that eye contact gives us the love hormones, the things that help our body settle, help us to feel safe.
Okay.
And I'll just give you a quick example. It didn't come from me, but my son, when his little girls were small, he decided that eye contact was a really important thing. And so he would say, if they were, instead of they were acting out or upset or whatever, instead of sending them to their room, which never works, he would say, okay, girls, we need to have some eye time. And if they were angry or upset, it was okay. They could sit on the other end of the couch and they would have eye contact. And if they were hurting or whatever, he would sit and hold them and he would look into their eyes. And guess what? And now the youngest one, who's 8, she'll still say, Daddy, I think I need some eye time. And she'll go and sit with him. And just for a few seconds, they'll have that eye contact. The nervous system settles. And then they can go off and do what they need to do.
That's great. That's a good kind of tip there, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. And I know when you sent me things I could talk to you about and questions to ask, ask. One of them was about that concept of the scientific background there and the nervous system and things like that. So would you share with us those principles of strengthening and regulating the nervous system?
Yeah, in fact, I would love, Reagan, I'd love to just a little bit to share some of the science behind that and in the way we strengthen and regulate the nervous system. And I think if you understand how it develops, then we can go, oh, and this is what I need to do. And what we know is that we have 3 branches of the nervous system. We were all taught that we have 2, right? Fight, flight, and freeze. No, 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 no. Dr. Stephen Porges said with some of his research, he said, wait a minute. As human beings, we have a 3rd part of our branch of the nervous system, and it's called our social engagement system. And it comes from the longest nerve in the body. And I like to say the nerve you never heard of is running your life.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that fun? Right? Because this long nerve that's goes everywhere helps us, and it actually starts developing before birth. And at birth, when the baby's born and mom and dad look in their eyes, the little tiny nerve endings of the vagus nerve inside the inner ear begin to develop even more. They thicken or myelinate, as the scientists call it. And then we can recognize the human voice. And as that happens, the vagus nerve is right here. And this part around the eyes begins to develop. We have eye contact. And this myelinates, thickens, and we can recognize appropriate facial cues. And as we keep going and everything is calm and, the vagus nerve comes down here, and then it comes around the heart, and we can calm our nervous system. And I'll show you some things in a minute about how to do that even better. But if we're thinking about the vagus nerve as the heart settles, then if we go down around and all the organs in our belly, that really becomes innervated more and more. And guess what? We can digest our food. So if we have caregivers that are present and available, then our vagus nerve grows and develops in a healthy way. And one of the things we need to know is that children under 7, and I don't know why they picked 7. The researchers say it's 7. I think it could be more. But they can't regulate their own nervous system. And that's why a timeout never works, because a kid is upset and you're saying to them, go get yourself regulated. Don't come to me. When you get yourself figured out, I'm exaggerating, of course, that's not what they need. They need eye time. They need to be understood. And the adult, I need to be regulated in order to help the child settle. And so,
maybe as we give them that eye time, do we talk about some of the feelings that they might be having and help them name those feelings? Is that part of what we do?
No, that's a really, really good point. First, we have to remember that if they're kind of off, the talking is not what's needed. They need the eye contact, they need the touch, whatever's appropriate, whatever they can handle, and something that says, I get it. I know this is really hard for you. And sometimes their words are, sometimes it's, oh yeah, oh honey, oh, right.
So basically compassion.
Exactly. Total compassion. I'm not trying to teach them. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm not trying to tell them all the things they did wrong. And if they had just not done that, this would have never happened.
Guilty.
Later we can come back and say, sweetheart, you probably want to think about that a little bit, because that's not as safe. And I want you to stay safe. But that's not a thing we can talk about right now. If they're out of we call it a window of presence. If they're out of their window of presence and they're going off, there's nobody home to talk to. So with the touch, with the eye contact, the slowing down, lowering your tone of voice, and sometimes it's helpful, depends on if they're upset or that kind of thing, to just cuddle with them, sing a lullaby, something like, you are home, you are safe, you are loved. You are home, you are safe, you are loved. Or it doesn't even have to be words. It can just be,
Well, this is beautiful. I love hearing your scientific background give some weight to some of what I've long had a conviction of. And one of those is the concept of music in motherhood. I do think that there's a reason why it's almost innate or instinctive to sing a lullaby. And you're giving us another time, not just when it's time for sleep, but another time and situation that is probably even more common than the need for lullabies, to use that lilting, calming voice of music. And you're even saying it doesn't have to be a specific song. It can just be words that we share of love.
Right. And the principle is you want to slow down, lower the tone of voice, and I like to call it the heart range.
Okay.
It's not really deep and like it's not up here. It's like, it's the heart tone.
Okay.
And that's what helps us come home to ourselves, whatever that is. And the words can be, or they can be silly after they start to come out. Then you can do silly things like, I think there's a grasshopper coming up your shirt. Have you seen the grasshopper? It's been in the dirt. Whatever. I just made that up. But just to be with them. But you don't want to do that until they can have eye contact and they're regulated.
Okay.
But you can feel them shifting, and then you can connect in a different way.
Now, we've talked about how some of us might not have grown up in this kind of atmosphere of learning self-regulation, but I think that's one of the beauties of motherhood, is that as we learn it for the sake of our own children, it helps us also, that we then benefit from these practices of, for instance, self-regulation. So if you would take a few minutes to give us a few of those basic practices to help ourselves stay calm and cool and connected, what would you suggest?
I thank you for asking. It's one of my favorite things. The first thing that we need to do is just slow down, take a breath, pause. Right? That's right. The breath is so important. And we like to call one of our practices ABC. It comes out of some of the research many years ago from the Heart Math Institute. And it's A stands for aware. Oops, something's off here. So I better, And then we take a breath, and you don't have to, but it's really helpful. And you can all try this with me right now. Put your hand right over the center of your chest and feel the warmth or the coolness of your hand, that solid feeling. And take a breath with a long exhale. And right? And as you do, the C stands for, it could stand for any number of things, but connect. Like connect with, right now I'm okay, I'm going to get through this, or right now I'm grateful, or a prayer, or whatever would be helpful to you. So that's ABC. And we've taught this to hundreds of people. I use it myself. Like this. You can be going into an appointment and somebody hasn't done what you thought they were going to do, and you're going, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. ABC, it's all right there. And in fact, I'm thinking about one family we taught this to, and the parents came back one week and they said, well, actually, this ABC thing, my husband and I were in the kitchen, and we were kind of having, and our little boy came in and said, ABC, Mama, ABC, reminded us, okay, you're right. All right. So the whole
That's
family,
beautiful.
isn't that cool? The whole
Yeah.
family can begin to just do the ABC. And with that comes mindfulness. And my husband Ken calls that notice what you notice. That's the open place of curiosity. I'm not judging. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm just, oh, well, this is interesting. And those are the main things, the slowing down, listening, ABC, really powerful tools.
That's great. I think this is so helpful to have you sharing these things with us. And I want to continue the conversation just briefly, if you can help us know some situations where these can be useful, like, yes, as parents, but can we help fellow people, like our siblings? Can we help the siblings work together on these things? What about maybe if there's a daycare provider or a teacher at school? Who can benefit from these things?
Everybody benefits. Everybody. If you want relationships, this is, the thing to do. Calm yourself, have eye contact when possible. I like to throw in another one, and that's called look for the good and name it. That's a
Okay.
huge principle. Every time I see something that I'm pleased with, I like it, it is magical just to name it. You're not going into a big deal. You're just saying, oh. And sometimes with the kids, I would say, or with my husband now, I'd say, I think the kitchen fairy came and emptied the dishwasher. It's light, or I just notice, gosh, you did this and you moved it to there, whatever it is. And the look for the good and name it, and expressing gratitude are two really, really important things.
And hopefully everyone can learn those things.
Absolutely. The other quick thing I would add here is when something's happening, when somebody's upset, I ask myself, okay, what's the most important thing here? Is it that I'm right? Is it that I teach this person a lesson? Is it that I get my way? But most of the time, the most important thing here is our relationship. And if I can be loving, provide a safe space, then we can work all the rest of this out. It doesn't have to be worked out now.
That is important, is having that long-term perspective of things. Well, as you have been talking, I'm hoping that our viewers have been writing things down. That's one of the things that we really encourage here at Momivate, is to write things down. And you could be using your smile journal. You have one. If you don't, of course, sign up on our website. You could just use a notebook. But we just want to remember what we've learned from this Momversation and put it into practice so that it can have that impact in our lives that it's intended to have. It's like this set of gears where one movement leads to more and more and more movements. It makes far-reaching positive changes, and writing it down can be that first movement. Now, we're so grateful and to have you here, and this is how people can get hold of you at RAISEO.com. So I like that there's a site they can download your free book of learning more, and it's for free. The getting books that you have to explain the principles that you've taught us just in these brief few minutes. That's always the hardest part, is how fast this half hour goes by. But it is time to do our recording and start our live interaction. And if you watched this as a recording, thank you for watching, and be sure to catch our live show every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, so you can participate. Also, inclusion assistant, and that's how